Joe, thanks for taking the time out to speak to us. Welcome, first of all. How have you found this first couple of weeks here at Everton?
Exciting, obviously straight in at the deep end with straight into the games. It's the first time for me personally to be the new boy in a long time, so a lot of names and a lot of faces to get used to around the building, but everyone's been so welcoming, and the players have responded really well from the training sessions and in the games, so it's felt like a really positive start.
You joined the club as assistant manager under Frank. How excited were you to get that call?
I was excited to get the call from Frank. It was a difficult decision for me. Obviously, Chelsea is a club that I've spent most of my life at, and I was in a position there where I was happy, and obviously being part of a big club that are competing for a lot of competitions, it's not an easy decision to make to walk away from that. But having worked with Frank before and knowing what that's like, knowing how that sort of tests me and develops me personally, in a professional point of view. To get the opportunity to work with Frank again was massive, but added to that, the fact that it was a club of the size of Everton was obviously just a decision that became fairly easy to make. It could have been a hard one, and it was difficult to leave somewhere that felt like home to me, but an incredible opportunity for me that I felt that I had to take.
Tell us about your relationship with Frank. Obviously, you've known him for a long time now. I believe you first came into contact with each other when you took a training session while he was still a player. Tell us a little bit about that relationship and how it's evolved over time.
Yeah, so when Frank was a player, something had happened where the first team travelled somewhere and a few players stayed back. Frank, Didier Drogba, a couple of others, and for some reason I was the one that was left covering the group. I don't know if one of the academy coaches was away sick or something, but yeah, I took a session that Frank was in, and I was told after that Frank enjoyed the session, enjoyed the intensity, and then we obviously just would see each other around the training ground. And when Frank then retired, we kept in touch, and then he came back and did some of his early bits of coaching at the academy, and obviously that continued the relationship. And then when Frank was the Derby manager, we'd also had talks about possibly me joining his team at Derby at some point. But then in the summer that we'd been speaking about that, he ended up getting the Chelsea job, and when he was named the manager at Chelsea, he moved me from the under-23 coach to join his coaching team, which was, at the time, me being at my club to join the first team and work alongside, probably the greatest player the club's ever had. It was an amazing opportunity.
I'm going to take you right back to the beginning. I believe you released as a 16-year-old. You obviously didn't quite make it as a player, but you went straight into coaching.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the route you took there.
Yeah, so I was playing like non-league, semi-pro level in the season after I left Chelsea as a player, and I was, I wasn't enjoying it. It was a really different style of football than I'd been used to at the academy, and in terms of the career side of it, did I need a second career and what was that going to be? And I was just a bit lost in general, to be honest. And Chelsea Academy are fantastic at looking after the players that move on as well as the players that stay in the system. And Neil Bath, the academy manager, who's still the academy manager now, he'd been a coach of mine, and he got in touch and offered me the opportunity to just help with some coaching with the under-7s and under-8s. And at first, if I'm honest, I just said yes because I thought, it was a chance to get some pocket money and it was related to football, so why not? But then the minute I turned up and did it, it was being around, it was being part of a professional environment where things are done properly. It's about football, but it's about making the kids enjoy it but testing them at the same time. And I just loved it instantly. And as I said, it was coupled with a time where I wasn't particularly enjoying the football I was playing. And I very quickly realised that I was coming home from games I was playing in, not very happy, but I was coming away from coaching sessions that I was just helping with at the time and absolutely loving it. So I started combining the two. I took a full-time role where I was coaching in the evenings, but in the daytime, pretty much just helping out with anything I could at the training ground. And it just grew and grew, and a couple of years later I had to make a decision because I could see that in terms of just my schedule it was clashing. I had the chance to take sessions in the academy, but it meant not playing in games, and it very quickly became an easy decision for me, to be honest. And it was probably 19 years old that I stopped playing to really commit to give everything I could to coaching. And from then on, that is what I did. I gave everything I could, and the academy were fantastic at putting me through all my badges and letting me work across all different age groups. And yeah, from there I just worked right throughout the pathway at the academy, really.
And you're 35 now, so on the face of it, I guess you're still a young coach. You've had, obviously, lots of success at the top level at Chelsea. Do you still feel like a young coach?
I feel like a young coach when when I'm in and around people that can talk about the game and draw on vast experience. But at the same time, I've been coaching in terms of planning training sessions and analysing for games and preparing game plans. That's something I've been doing a long time, so I don't feel sort of inexperienced in that sense. At the same time, something I would say about my age as well is sometimes I do find it particularly easy to relate to the players on some levels, which is really important. In my previous role at Chelsea, I came through into the first team setup at a time where there were a number of young players breaking through that, we'd almost grown up together. They'd grown up as kids in the academy, and I'd progressed as a coach and been with them in my mid-20s to early 30s, and we'd shared that together. So sometimes I think my age does help in that sense to sort of connect with players, which is a big part of coaching. But certainly I know I've got a lot of experience at a fantastic level working at Chelsea. But at the same time, whenever I come across players or coaches at this level, you can always learn and gain experience from everyone.
You've obviously been at the top level for a number of years now under Frank and Thomas Tuchel as well, but how much do you think that journey and that path through the academy, the under-18s, the 23s and that sort of thing, how much has that shaped you as a coach?
I think coming from a club like that, something that I always felt a lot of pressure to win, which in the academy, I need to be clear on that, in the academy we were never put under pressure by sort of our direct managers that we had to win or we would lose our jobs. But I was always in charge of academy teams that were stacked with fantastic players, so it's quite logical that if you've got an under-16 team or an under-18 team with a host full of England youth internationals, the team should be doing well. So I always felt pressure to win, but at the same time to do it in a certain way, that the team has to play good football, that the players are being developed, because ultimately that's what we're there for. And it always felt like that. If things weren't going well, if players weren't developing or the team weren't performing well, results weren't going well, you'd really start looking at yourself and reflect and digging deeper. And when things were going well, it's almost like, okay, on to the next, push again. And I think that's something that helps me and Frank get on well. I think we've got that in common, that we've been through that journey together, where it is just relentless of always striving to improve players and for the team to keep winning. And that's exactly what we want to bring to Everton straight away. We understand that in this short term we really do need results, and we want to put points on the board and work our way up the table. And we want the players to sort of feel that pressure in a good way, that we want this team to be winning. But at the same time, we want to do it in a certain way, and that way comes from working on the training pitch to improve the players and really maintaining a good quality level of consistency in our performance.
You mentioned a winning culture, one that you and Frank are both used to throughout your careers. How do you go about embedding that here at Everton?
I think it starts from the work you do day to day. I mean, obviously you talk about mine and Frank's background, him as a player. When you talk about success, you're referring to a lot of trophies, and the level that I'd worked at, it's all relative. At the level I'd worked at in the academy, there would be a lot of success that people would, they would summarise the success based on Youth Cup trophies and stuff like that. We're not expecting to walk into a club and all of a sudden start winning silverware instantly, but at the same time, the standards that you set for all of the staff around the building, all of the players on a daily basis, to think like that, to think like the way that winners do every day and push yourself. That's the only way you've got any chance of getting anywhere near those levels over a long period. And we just hope that very quickly those improvements will lead to progress in the short term.
And just touching on the coaching staff as well, obviously a new environment for yourself. There's Paul, Ashley and Chris have joined the club, Duncan and Alan that are already here as well. How are you finding that as a working environment so far?
Yeah, I think the amount of time you spend together when you do this job, to have a good environment in your staff team, is crucial, and that's been a massive plus that I've really enjoyed in the first few weeks of this job already. Obviously, everyone on the staff I know really well, from Ashley from our time at Chelsea. Chris worked in Frank's coaching team in the last few years with us at Chelsea. Paul was actually my coach as a kid. I think I was an under-11 player when Paul was the under-11 coach at Chelsea. So me and Paul go way back. And then when I started coaching, we coached together with I think it was the under-16 age group at one point. So a lot of close relationships amongst the team that Frank's brought, with very different strengths. Obviously, you can just see from everyone's backgrounds, very different backgrounds and experiences, which works well. and then obviously came into the room joining Alan and Duncan, and obviously Duncan is a Everton and Premier League legend, so that's amazing experience for us to have on our team, which we're sort of feeling the benefits of already. And Alan as well, working with Jordan for the last few years, another fantastic guy, or can already see that and feels like close relationships already.
As you mentioned, it's quite a big team of coaching staff, one that we're perhaps a little bit unused to here at Everton. Is it something that's important to have that real mix of skills and experience?
Yeah, definitely. And as I said, I think the way that we go about aiming for success is really improving the players, not just coming with this idea and philosophy of how we want to play football and talking to the whole squad every day on the training pitch and the whole squad in the meeting and hoping that'll be enough. We really try and break things down with smaller groups and individuals, whether it be Ashley going to speak to players that play in a similar position to obviously what he was one of the best in the world in, whether it be me going and doing smaller analysis meetings. I think just I don't think the amount of people we've got in our team is too big at all, because the way we want to work, the more you can get individual face time and contact time with the players to really focus on their game and push them and try and kick them on. In our opinion, I think that's the way we see best to improve the team.
So you mentioned it was obviously a big decision to leave Chelsea after so long, but how much have you picked up about the club in these first couple of weeks, about the traditions and the history of the club?
Yeah, I mean, obviously coming to the training ground, there's a lot of Scousers in the building, and I've actually got a lot of Scousers connected to my family, so I know that they're a type of people that make you feel very welcome very quickly, and you get that straight away. Only being here a few days, you feel that sort of family environment and connection with the people in the training ground. There's obviously a good core of British players in the squad as well, which I think for sort of the identity of the team here at Everton, I do think that's important. And you can feel that down in and around the building and out on the training pitch. You can feel that a few of the local boys that have come through. I think that's always important. But then the stadium, I said to the players, I've obviously been a visitor before, I've been the away team coming to Goodison, and when the team are on it and the fans at Goodison are on it, it's not a nice place to come and visit. So I'm absolutely loving being in the home dugout for these first two games that we've played so far against Brentford, and particularly the Leeds. Just the whole feeling from the minute we arrived at the stadium for the Leeds game, and then throughout the game was amazing, and it definitely added to the performance. And it's a two-way thing, although the fans are quite, the atmosphere at Goodison is quite notorious, we understand as well that the players and the team have a duty to get the guys going, and I think it just all went together perfectly. That game against Leeds, you could see that we were on the front foot, there was a lot of energy, and the minute you start like that, that's just exactly what the fans at Goodison want, and they just sort of thrive off it, and it's like the team and the fans push each other, and we just have to try and make sure that's something that happens consistently at Goodison now.
How pleasing is that for you to work on something in the week, a game plan, to start quickly and employ certain tactics, seeing it come to life on a match day and seeing the reaction it gets? How pleasing is that for you personally?
Yeah, to be honest, the first two home games, obviously Newcastle was a bit disappointing, but the first two home games, if I'm honest, myself and Frank had always spoken and kept sharing ideas about things we might do if and when we work together again. For the players to implement some of the stuff we've seen on the pitch so quickly has surprised me, and it's all credit to them. It's not remotely us saying, oh, look at the idea and we've completely changed the team in 2 games. It's not that at all, but the way the players have bought in and then gone out and produced the goods on the pitch has been fantastic.
And you look at the ideals that you've tried to bring here, do you feel like it's a good match, that, in terms of Evertonians like seeing aggressive football on the front foot, playing good football as well? Is that something that sort of marries up to yours and Frank's philosophy?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, particularly without the ball, when we haven't got the ball, Frank and I, we want the team to press high up the pitch with aggression. We want to win the ball in the opposition half and be as far away from our goal as possible and be as close to theirs to just try and create as many chances as possible. And there's not many better places in the Premier League that when you're doing that, they just get behind you and it feels like it gives you even more energy and even more numbers when you're hunting the ball. So that's been a real positive so far, and we have to keep trying to use that. We're lucky to have that behind us. We have to keep utilising that, and that's down to the players to keep putting the work rate in, to keep buying into the ideas of how we press together. And then when we have the ball, it's, you know, we want to find that balance. We were watching the team earlier on in the season and looking at stats as well, and we felt probably with the players that are here, you know, it would probably be a positive thing to have more possession and control games by having the ball more. And I think if you look at the fourth goal against Brentford, which was Andros's goal, I think that came at the end of like a 30-pass passage, which when I watched that back, I saw the players enjoying playing, enjoying getting on the ball. We were in total control of the game. So that's a big feature of how we want to play. But at the same time, we don't want to come and play short passes around our own box for the sake of doing that. We fully understand that, you know, we want to be an exciting team that ultimately creates a lot of chances to score goals. We know that the fans at Goodison like that. They like action in and around the goal area, and again, it's our duty to make that happen. And we've got the players to do it. You know, the front four we had against Leeds in Richie and Dom and Anthony and Alex were outstanding. So we have to make sure that we're feeding them as well. And if we can get the balance like we did in the Leeds and Brentford game, hopefully we can just keep building from there.
Looking at the players specifically, how do you go about analysing those in the first few days, few weeks, in terms of getting to know their strengths and weaknesses and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's not something you can do particularly quickly. The first week of training was excellent, and you know the performances in training were so good that it was actually really hard for Frank to pick the team for the first game against Brentford. We want to keep that because we want competition. We've already tried to give, you know, as many players as possible a run out in the games to see them, but then ultimately something that Frank's always been big on, which I think he used Alex Iwobi as the example in the Leeds game, is that if you want to play in the team and you want to earn that position, you have to show it in training. You know, it's in keeping with the philosophy that if you want to keep improving as a team, you as an individual, you have to work and give everything you got every day. So we've got a big squad when everyone's fully fit, like we almost are at the moment. We've got a big squad out there. So when you get your opportunity to train through the week at Finch Farm, the guys have to produce, and the guys have to sort of earn their position in the team through that way.
And just finally, obviously we mentioned the tradition of the club and the success we've had in the past, but I think it's well documented now that it's been a while since we have won anything. How much would it mean to you and the rest of the staff to end that drought and bring silverware here?
To bring silverware here would be absolutely amazing. You know, it's a club that until a couple of weeks ago I had no association with, but it is one of those clubs that as a fan or a person of another club, you always look from afar and respected it as a big club with passionate fans and a lot of tradition. And when you see year and year go by with FA Cups and League Cups going past without Everton in the final or in the semi-final, you're aware of that. And you know, I've obviously seen a lot of the stuff in the media in recent times of the frustration of the fans, and you know that they've got every right to feel like that. They support their team passionately, and the team hasn't had a lot of success in recent times. So for us personally, we would always want success, particularly because there's people in our staff that are used to that. And once you get it, you just want it and you want it again. But now to only imagine what that would mean to the people of Everton because of how long they've had to wait, that would be amazing.